What is up, guys? True the Slayer is back here today, guys, with his first video in a new series I'm calling Fundra Guides. I know I'm not the best name, but it's meant to teach you about things such as bosses and not be too serious with doing the guide. I hope you like this, so let's go ahead and get started. Today's guide, we'll be talking about the undead money dragon of legend, Vorkath. Now let's begin with your gear. Now the typical setup for the armor is going to be Elite Void. You unlock it by completing the Hard Western Province Achievement Diary, then spending 400 pest control points to unlock the top and bottom. What this does for Void is it actually adds a prayer bonus, which is really nice for keeping your prayer up a lot longer and using less prayer pots. But if you want to be a real man, you want to go full bandos and show Vorkath you mean business! But hey, I'm not your mom. I can't tell you how to live your life. Now, it's time for you to accessorize. For your next slot, you're going to want to get a Salve Amulet EI. You unlock this by doing the Lair of Taun's mini quest and retrieving his diary. Then you can imbue it from the Nightmare Zone so you can get the bonus to all combat styles. What the Salve Amulet does is it gives you a 20% increased damage to undead, which Vorkath is a zombie dragon, which is really sick, I'll be honest, alright? Now, for your weapon choice, I recommend having a weapon swap, starting with a defense-lowering weapon such as BGS. But if you're Mr. Moneybags, a Dragon Warhammer is no slouch. Now, depending on whether you want to range or melee Vorkath, your weapons are going to differ. If you're planning on ranging Vorkath, you're going to want to use a blowpipe. But if you can afford a Dragon Hunter crossbow with a DragonFire ward, you're going to be a lot better off because all you're going to have to do is pray range and take a lot less damage. For melee, I recommend waiting until you can afford a Dragon Hunter lance with a DragonFire shield to maximize the damage you get for melee. For inventory, you're going to want to have either a super combat potion or a range pot depending on what attack style you're going to be preferring. Now, personally, I recommend Divines, but they do deal 10 damage to you. Now, that's going to be up to you, especially when you're just starting to learn the boss. You might want to just do regular super combat potion just so you don't have to worry about that extra 10 damage throughout the fight. Because if you're still just learning, you can take a lot of damage in this fight, and that 10 damage can make or break you for finishing the fight. Now, for the rest of the inventory, you're going to want a super extended anti-fire if you're using a blowpipe. If you're just doing the melee method or the range method with the DragonFire ward and the DragonFire shield for the melee, you're just going to want an anti-fire potion so you can minimize the damage. You're also going to want an anti-venom potion for one of the times where he can poison you. The rest of the inventory, you want food with one slot for your rune pouch with runes that you're going to need to cast Home Teleport and Crumble Undead. Now that you've done getting dressed, let's get into the fight! Vorkath has multitudes of mechanics, so let's go ahead and start with the two main phases that you will encounter during the fight. First, we'll be talking about his acid phase, or I like to call it his slime time phase. In this phase, Vorkath will cock his head back and spew slime all over the place. He's just a big fan of Nickelodeon. He just has to spew it everywhere, right? It will spew exactly on the square that you're standing on when he starts the phase, as well as random squares around the map. Now, not only does this happen during this phase, but he also begins, "I'm a fire in my laser!" which can kill you quite quickly if you stand still. You want to find an open lane with no poison on it and keep a tile ahead of the bombardment. If you're standing on a current tile, it will hit you for quite a bit of damage. Otherwise, if you're just staying one tile ahead of the bombardment, basically just think of it one tile plus whatever you're clicking on, you will be fine and take no damage. Now, if you happen to stand on any of the slime that is on the ground, it will hurt you as well as heal Vorkath. So please do try to avoid it, but if it's unavoidable to get onto a current path, just feel free to take the damage. It's better for you to heal him for a bit than you get insta-kill for his barrage. Now, you can also DPS Vorkath during this phase if you learn how to Woox Walk. I might do a video in the future about Woox Walking because it's a bit of a technical technique for range, but for melee, all it really is you click on Vorkath, click away. Now you won't be able to do it every time because of just how random the acid on the ground can be, and getting it set up can also put you at great risk of getting dealt damage in the phase. But hey, it's gonna just be a learning curve for that. The second phase you will encounter is the Facehugger phase, in which he will freeze you in place like a PKer trying to smite you, then summon a Facehugger that will run at you and explode. Because for some reason, when he went to Facehugger school, he forgot the lesson of, you want to further your race? You got to impregnate them by jumping on their face and injecting the eggs. He's like, nah, fam, I'm going to kamikaze explode on you. But don't worry, this phase is really easy. You just have to crumble undead on the Facehugger, and there you go. Now, unfortunately, during this phase, while it's going on, you cannot DPS Vorkath. You will not be dealt any damage until the phase is complete. Now, he has some smaller mechanics that will happen randomly throughout the fight. And what those mechanics are, so starting with the first one, is he can fire a giant fireball, which is kind of like...
Tactical nuke incoming!
But don't fret. All you have to do is walk 2 squares away from it and you will be fine. But if you do happen to get hit by it, it's one-shot KO if you're standing dead on the square. But if you're a tile away, it's a bit of a smaller hit. Now, another thing he can do randomly during the fight is he can fire a purple fireball at you. What the purple fireball does is it just turns off your current prayers, so you just have your quick prayers on, you just click it right back on. Another mechanic he can do, which is the last mechanic I'm going to mention here, is he can fire a green flame at you. What this flame does is it has a chance of poisoning you. It doesn't always hit, but when it does, you just drink your anti-venom, and then you have your poison protection throughout the fight, so next time he does it, you'll be perfectly fine. Well, guys, I hope this video was fun, and I hope it helped you to slay Vorkath. If you have any ideas to improve this guy in the future, please let me know in the comments down below. And remember, guys, to keep on chewing, and I'll keep on slaying. See you guys in the next video. Bye-bye!